Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thank you for checking out the channel. Just got into Vegas here for the Canelo Alvarez Jaime Munguia fight. From 30,000 feet in the air, I watched the Miami Heat get drubbed and dragged up and down the TD Garden by 30. Basically all game. They had the Celtics bust out the top hats and monocles. And this season comes to a painfully humbling ending. And so, once you got the news of Jaime Jaquez going down, not like it was looking good anyway, but then on top of it, you have what happened to Jaime in this game. You weren't feeling great. I wasn't feeling great. And you were like, well, what's the worst that could happen? It's like, could you get a spirited effort from your Miami Heat? And if your name wasn't Bam Adebayo, the answer to that was no. No, you couldn't, because you were going to nail three pointers for the entire game. And, we're struggling to even get to 80 at a point, as it seemed. Just a really, really awful ending to, what was a frustrating season. I think you looked at this game, and you could tell, I think, mentally there was a side of this Heat team outside of 13. I think everybody looked a little bit defeated. They were down so big by the time halftime even rolled around. It was not even a competition, but even after the first quarter, it was disappointing because you had gotten just teed off on, like at the end of this thing, second quarter, Miami Heat is down 41-23. So just again, immediately Celtics coming out and setting the tone for the game. And Tyler Herro gives you a goose egg. It just gives you a goose egg. And it was a really, really rough performance for Tyler. I'm not expecting the dude to put on a cape, and I'm not expecting him to go out there and save the Heat. But, it's once again, you go into these high-stakes games, and you just feel like you need to do so much to just shake him free. And I know that the Celtics targeted him, and I know that it was a bit of a stylistic nightmare for him, but he got, from the level we've all been wondering if the guy's going to get to what you got performance-wise, just wasn't there. It just wasn't there in that game. And I thought that he had a couple of moments of frustration in this one, too, that were really rough, where, he's throwing the ball at Peyton Pritchard. He's getting mocked by the Celtics broadcaster for saying, well, Peyton Pritchard plays hard and he doesn't. And then, he's trying to muscle around Al Horford, and Stan Van Gundy's making comments that that's not a basketball play. So, it was a tough one for Boy Wonder, for sure. Wish he could have had a better showing. And I really wish that, there was more support around Bam, who, literally couldn't leave the court by the metrics of this series. And so now you just sit here and look, you guys know old Tobes. I'm as delusional as it gets. I try and go into all these things with an optimistic mind. I like to play those games. I enjoyed the holy hell out of being in the series. I loved the holy hell out of going from 2-3. I loved being back in the building for Game 3 with a white hot Heat playoffs. But it's disappointing. You're gone. You haven't seen your team win now in their building in 6 playoff tries, and all of it really culminated with a regular season that was a failure. The season was a failure. And it's not because you didn't realize it while it was happening, where you're like, man, this team sucks at scoring. Man, this team is not very durable. Man, this team seems a little bit played out. Wow, all the opposition seems like it got better. can Jim VP put on a Superman cape? Can that happen again? Well, it didn't, because his durability, which has been an issue through his Heat career, but he always showed up for the playoffs. Now he wasn't available for a playoffs. And it was in because you guys couldn't get out of the play-in yet again. So the Miami Heat did this to themselves. You know, they did this to themselves in the offseason. You know, and in a lot of ways, once we got that Woj bomb that Damian Lillard was going to the Milwaukee Bucks, it kind of just felt like everything had changed, because it felt like everybody was maybe tired of what the Heat had done last year, and you ended up having the dominoes fall where, like, Damian Lillard goes to the Bucks, so that weakens the Heat, strengthens a rival, coincides with Drew Holiday ending up getting circumvented to the Boston Celtics, which was obviously a huge move for them, and the Heat just kind of stayed treading. They didn't do anything other than add Jaime Jaquez, who was really one of the bright spots of the year. Loved watching Jaime play, especially the first half of the season before he got hurt. But even, you know, towards the end when he looked like he was getting right, you know, he's definitely one of the standout parts of the year. Nico's development was really, really fun. I love watching him get to take a stronghold on a starting position. And then, you know, Bam shooting threes. But it was such a frustration of a year because, you know, we could sit here, we could say, hey, it's tough to evaluate the Miami Heat when, you know, they had 36 starting lineups, which probably ended up even being more in the playoffs, right? So they probably ended up with, what, 30, probably 39 when it was all said and done. So nearly 50% of their games, they were rolling out a different starting lineup. And you're not gonna win with that lack of consistency. You know, Boston, yeah, they were blessed with good health this year up until this Porzingis thing, but their guys, you know, their stars, their starters, maybe a few games missed here and there with Porzingis, but not the amount that the Heat were dealing with. And yeah, that speaks to a roster construction issue that needs to be addressed this summer. It does. You can't go into every year. You have two guys who are making boatloads of money who you can't rely upon getting through a season. Tyler, Jimmy Butler. Jimmy has obviously earned a lot more grace because of what he has done for the franchise in his time here and being a star who has taken them very, very far in the postseason. Tyler hasn't really done that since he was a rookie. And I feel like we all will it. We're all talking to himself. And the other thing is, you know, he's kind of gotten the organizational, you know, they put him, I guess, in trade rumors he's had to deal with every single year, but he is, you know, he got the starting job after he was Sixth Man of the Year. He got the $100 million plus extension. So you can't really say the Miami Heat have ever done wrong by Tyler Herro. And, you know, fortunately for him, he's had he just always seems to have injuries at the wrong time, and he came back. And I know that foot probably wasn't all the way back. He still had the, you know, giant bucket of ice by his locker every single game. So, you know, maybe we could sit here and we'd say, yeah, his playoffs weren't great, but he probably wasn't 100%. But it's like, yeah, but that's kind of the point. You never know when he's 100%. You go into a playoff series, you think Caleb Martin, hey, can Caleb Martin become this supernova, maybe conference, you know, player of the game, or conference, or, you know, Eastern Conference player of the series, or Eastern Conference MVP, whatever the hell. Yeah, they ran it back, lost two rotational guys, replaced them with rookies, and then on top of it, didn't get, you know, missed a ton of games from Jimmy and missed a ton of games from Tyler. Lost Duncan Robinson in the midst of it. You know, one of the positives you could probably say is the year Duncan had up until his injury. Then that spun out and you lost him too. So definitely a snake bit season. I'll say the Miami Heat had some bad fortune go their way. much like we could say with the Dolphins last year. Like, hey, we could say that the Dolphins had bad fortune go their way, but we can also sit back and recognize, like, you kind of set yourself up for bad fortune coming your way. And so, Pat Riley talked about this coming into the season, that these builds are usually 5-year increments. We've been here for 5 years now. This core specifically of Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Herro, and I'll throw Duncan Robinson in there. Has it finally run its course? What are they going to do? They tried to also take one, I don't even say it was a Hail Mary. It was kind of like the easiest trade that was there was like, hey, give the Hornets a pick and give them the filler of Kyle Lowry's contract. Here's Terry Rozier. He wasn't there to perform. So, could just sit here and be like, oh, yeah, well, we're going to run it back with Terry this year. Like, be real, dude. No, nobody in the fan base is going to think that's good enough. And so I do think the Miami Heat have to look long and hard, because they have watched the Boston Celtics throttle them, and they got to make a major move. They have to. They cannot come back with the same thing. Because even the year after they got swept, we could say with Jimmy, they made a move. They made a major move. It wasn't the sexiest move in the world, but they went and made a major move in getting Kyle Lowry and even getting PJ Tucker. Probably the best constructed starting lineup that the team had. That team, though it dealt with its fair share of injuries, was able to get itself to the 1 seed and set themselves up really pretty for that postseason. So you can't just sit back after what you just witnessed your biggest rival do to you with ease after you've given them heartbreak and you've had your moments against them. But, they look like they're well positioned to make a finals run with the way the rest of the conference looks like. And that's the other thing, too, is like, yeah, it's been an Eastern Conference that certainly is dealing with its fair share of injuries and curse stuff and all that stuff. But, like, at least the other teams made new moves, Like, at least the Bucks are sitting here and be like, well, the Bucks can come back next year and be like, yeah, but Giannis and Dame didn't work out because they weren't healthy. Like, they'll never know what the ceiling of that is. I think with the Heat, I think we know with this core, we know what the ceiling is. It has to get better. It has to. And I think it's going to be a very interesting summer because, there'll be people asking for money who I don't know that they're going to pay. And I think that probably centers around Jimmy Butler and his extension, because the money is crazy in the NBA. Everybody wants crazy guaranteed deals. He's got a year and a player option left. He's going to play the I took you to the finals a couple times. It's going to be a very nice argument. But I think the Miami Heat are going to say, hey, respectfully, you're going to be 35. What do you want us to do? Guarantee it till you're 40? And then I wonder what the fallout of that is. And then coincide it with Bam Adebayo is going to be up for an extension. I do think he'll probably get it. What is that going to mean for the franchise when Bam got the extension he wanted? Jimmy didn't get the extension that he necessarily wanted. I'm not reporting anything. I am purely speculating. And then you got the Tyler conundrum, which is he's got all these years left on his deal. His value around the league already wasn't that high. He now had a year where he missed half the year. Had another subpar playoff series where he looked like he didn't belong on the court for most of it. So what does that mean for his value? What does that mean for his future? What does the league think of your young players, Jaime Jaquez and Nikola Jovic? What are the paths to finish this? And, I see some of the answers. I see people who we're going to talk about all this stuff throughout the summer. I don't want to hit on all the obvious names that are going to be out there right now because there'll be time for that. But as far as the guys that are here right now, yeah, we're at an interesting crossroads with a lot of them. I think a lot of them except for Bam Adebayo. I think Bam is the guy they'll take care of, and I think they'll do, they'll pay their guy because he's in his prime and he plays in the regular season and he shows up for playoff games and can perform. Whereas your alpha, your number one, your superstar is getting up there, misses a lot of games, wasn't there for the postseason. History of this franchise has shown, especially Pat Riley, he's cutthroat. He's cutthroat. And he's not going to be here and be like, yeah, for sure, Jimmy, we'll just give you, an extra 3 years, 4 years, guaranteed gazillion dollars just because. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I would be, will they do some kind of like 2-year thing where they guarantee both years, maybe a little bump? Maybe. But is it going to extend into his late 30s? That would surprise me. That would surprise me. And then I wonder if Jimmy is not happy about that. What does that mean for his reaction? So Caleb Martin, obviously on an option year. Curious to see what direction he goes in. Haywood Highsmith had a rough series too. Did not go great, but a lot of the role guys didn't. I think the only role guy you could look at and be like, that dude had a great series was DeLon Wright. Everybody else pretty much had their flaws shown in this one. But Boston will do that. They were a great team. They were the better team. And it sucks. It sucks to lose to them. I hate it. But we're going to have a long summer ahead and a lot of things to dive into. And it'll be interesting. I don't think this is going to be a boring summer. I think this will be a summer filled with a lot of interesting twists and turns, and we'll see what that means. We'll sharpen the harpoons. We'll see where that gets us. If it gets us anywhere, it hasn't recently. Hopefully this summer is different. And hopefully Miami can take this, TKO loss, rally, and find a way to get back to the mountaintop.